Are you tired of the secular news? Do you want a Christian view of politics? Do you want to know what is going on in your Christian community? Your wait is over. Welcome to the Intermountain Christian News Hour. Here is your host, Dr. Anthony Harper.
I'm Dr. Anthony Harper, and I'm with Clare Lopez. Thank you, Clare, for joining me.
Thanks, Anthony. Very glad to be with you.
On this very important topic, Clare, about Iran, or for some, Iran, and the Middle East. So I know a little bit about you. Your background is that you are a Middle East expert, and some of your other background is?
Well, I'll tell you that I began my focus on the Middle East and specifically on Iran after 9/11. I had focused more on the Soviet Union and Russia before that time. But after 9/11, I realized I did not really know much about the Middle East or Islam or Iran. And I became acquainted with the representatives in Washington, D.C. of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, the NCRI, the largest, oldest, best organized of all the Iranian opposition groups. And that began my deep dive into all things Iran, including a study of Farsi.
And a little bit about your background with the CIA. What did that include?
That was my focus on Russia and the Soviet Union, as I've said, and it was only after 9/11 that I turned my focus to the Middle East and, as I said, specifically Iran. About 2004-5 is when I met the NCRI representatives who have their office in Washington, D.C. on Pennsylvania Avenue, about 18th Street, just a couple blocks down from the White House.
Okay. Thank you for joining me on this so important topic of Iran or Iran. I'm thinking of a couple of topics that are so crucial about the status of the protesters. What is the latest about Iran protesters, how they're being treated?
Well, unfortunately, the Iranian regime in Tehran has slaughtered, we don't even know the numbers, but numbers that are offered range anywhere from 15 to 60,000 killed, maybe more, hundreds of thousands injured, and another additional, or maybe part of that same group, arrested in Iranian prisons. So at the moment, this week, for the last several days, let's say since the last weekend perhaps, the protests continue in a number of cities across Iran, but they have diminished in numbers and in numbers of protesters and in numbers of cities and provinces in which they're being held. They've not ceased. They're still ongoing. But the regime has called out very heavy security, including tanks in the streets, including heavy weaponry like machine guns mounted on the backs of pickup trucks to mow down the Iranian people. And so that has caused a drop-off in the number of protesters. But it's not over at all by any means. And in the coming days, we will see the gathering in the Middle East region of a very heavy deployment of American forces that include positioning, for example, of fighter jets in Jordan. We'll also see the arrival in a day or two or a few of two U.S. aircraft carrier strike groups, the USS Abraham Lincoln, coming in from the Far East, where it had been in the South China Sea, now approaching the Middle East, should be there in another day or two, I understand. And then a second U.S. Carrier strike group, the USS, I think it's the George W. Bush, coming out from the east coast of the United States and across the Atlantic. It too will take up position in the region. Additionally, in addition to the fighter jets, there has been a movement of quite a few aerial refueling tankers that have been positioned at the Al Udeid Air Force Base in Qatar, and in other places as well around the Middle East. So I know that there has been a lot of disappointment and disillusionment after we heard President Trump last week, about 1 week ago actually, telling the Iranian people, stay on the streets, keep protesting, help is on the way. And then nothing happened. I think from the reports that I've seen, analysis that I've seen, heard, that in the end, the United States, along with Israel, of course, realized that we did not have sufficient forces in the region to either deter or to respond to expected Iranian regime retaliation if and when strikes of our own began. And so the delay up until now may be explained by the need to consolidate, to bring in, more forces, American, U.S. Military, aerial and naval forces to the region, not only as deterrent, but also to be in a position to defend our own bases and embassy positions, diplomatic facilities, and to assist and back up our friend and ally Israel in the case that we strike and that then the Tehran regime strikes back at myriad targets that they would find across the Middle East.
It's so sad to think about how many people have died, and they had this hope that President Trump would follow through quickly on this, and now they're staying in their homes, most likely out of fear that they will be killed.
Yeah, that's right. But again, it seems to me from the analysis reporting that I've seen that it was thought better to be prepared for the full onslaught of an Iranian regime retaliatory strikes plural, against both American bases, which have been directly threatened by the regime, and as well Israel itself. Better to be prepared with the forces necessary to counter such an eventuality than to go in more quickly without being prepared and suffer casualties, maybe even massive casualties.
For those from Iran, I know there are a lot of Iranians actually living in America. In my community, I have about estimated 300, and my message to the Iranians here is we are so sad that your families are going through this in Iran, and so many Iranians, and so we express that deep sadness and hope that there will be an answer here very shortly, the help that is needed. President Trump has stated several times that he is going to do it. I've heard other experts say that President Trump is a man of his word and he will keep his word. And many are hoping that will happen here very shortly. Don't know exactly. There's an element of surprise, I know, for President Trump in this matter. So do you see President Trump keeping his word as well?
Yes, I do. I share that confidence that when he says something, he means it. Again, as I've said, I understand if the decision was made to delay strikes for some period of time. It's been a week now or so. But just to be sure that when those strikes happen, they're effective, and that they lead to the downfall of this regime. And also then that our own people, bases, facilities, and our friends and allies in the region do not suffer overwhelming retaliation without defense from the Iranian regime. So I understand the frustration and the concern that is he really going to follow through? I do think he will. I think President Trump is a man of his word, and I think that he understands very well that allowing this regime, especially after the slaughter on that scale of its own people, but allowing this regime to remain in power is no longer an option, not just for the Iranian people, but for the entire region, for Israel and the United States. We may know, last point on the United States, that the Iranian regime just within the last day or two boasted about testing ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles with a range of 10,000 miles. Now, that is not for Israel. It's not for the Gulf region of the Middle East. That's for us.
How would you see, besides a threat to us, to Israel and to the wider Middle East?
Well, we may remember that after just about every Friday Juma prayers, the imams leading the prayers, and after they spill into the streets afterwards, chanting Marg bar America, Marg bar Israel. In Farsi, that means death to America, death to Israel. And what we should understand, and I hope and I trust our leadership does, is that the regime in Tehran are hardcore, devout, practicing, faithful Islamic Shiite Twelvers. And when I say Twelvers, what I mean is that they are followers of the 12th Imam. In Shiite theology, that means the 12th in a patrilineal line, father, son, down from, as they believe, from Muhammad himself, down to the 9th century. That would be the 800s current era, when the 12th in that line was a little boy who somehow either disappeared, maybe the family hid him for fear of assassination, or alternatively, the story goes, he may have fallen down a well and drowned. In any case, there was no 13th Imam. What to do? So what the Shiites did is proclaimed the 12th Imam to be the overall Islamic messianic figure of the Mahdi. Sunnis also believe in this messianic figure, the Mahdi, but they don't give him any particular identity. These Shiites of the 12th Imam persuasion do. But here's the kicker. The regime, and when I say regime, I mean the top leadership in Iran, certainly the supreme leader himself, Ali Khamenei, his circle around him, the top clerics of the Shiites in Iran, the enforcers of the regime, meaning the IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or Pasdaran in Farsi, their subordinate units in the Quds Force, in the Basij, on down to the police forces locally, and also the Shiite judiciary, the ones handing down these horrific hundreds and thousands of death sentences. All of that, they are followers of the 12th Imam. And here's the kicker. They believe, unlike the Sunnis, these Shiite Twelvers believe that they can hasten the return of the Mahdi to earth to usher in the day of judgment, the end times, by instigating enough chaos and strife and warfare on earth, literally Armageddon, that the Mahdi, the 12th Imam for them, would feel compelled to come back quicker and set it all straight. By the way, the new mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, is a Twelver.
Very disturbing. So how do you see Iran leadership, especially from the Ayatollah on down, impacting riots in the streets, or even broader destruction from Muslims here in America?
I mean, along with what we call the red-green axis, red, communist, Marxist, Antifa, those kinds of anarchist groups, green Islam in the United States. Primarily, that means the Muslim Brotherhood and its front groups. But however, these all also mix with Iranian elements here in the United States. Certainly, we know there's a broad network of Hezbollah in the United States. But we also know from open reporting that the FBI, Secret Service, have been aware of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, again, IRGC, hit squads in the United States going back some years now to target the president, Donald Trump, certainly him, because in January of 2020, that would be just 6 years ago, came the orders from President Trump to take out the then commander of the Quds Force, Major General Qasem Soleimani. And so these hit squads, known to law enforcement, known to the FBI, known to the Secret Service, were, at least at that time and in some period of time since, in the United States, gunning, literally gunning, not just for the president, but for some of the officials who served in his first administration, namely John Bolton, former ambassador to the United Nations, also former national security advisor, also Mike Pompeo, formerly CIA director, and also served as the Secretary of State for Donald Trump, and others named. So we know that they have been targets, and we know that our law enforcement was aware of Iranian hit squads specifically going after them. Now, do they also, the Iranian regime, does the Iranian regime also collaborate in any way with the rest of or elements of the red-green axis? Not so clear. Although in terms of some of the disturbances on our campuses, on our streets, it's very likely that Iranian influences are among those.
We have a large audience of the faith community and many evangelical Christians and Orthodox Jews, I know, that are praying for the Iranian people. I am as well, praying for their protection and protection over Israel and America. I know it's a very challenging time, and I thank you for joining us to talk about these urgent issues about Iran and impact on what's going on in the Middle East, about their impact about the U.S. and Israel. So thank you once again, Claire, and I look forward to talking with you again.
Thank you, and what I would say to everyone is hold tight. This is not over, and Donald Trump is a man of his word. And the Iranian people will, in the end, be the ones who determine and decide their own future, and it will not be the future of this regime.
That is a great hope, and we have a lot to look forward to. I'm looking forward to having another interview, post U.S. operations and freeing the Iranian people, and there's a lot developing, I know, as we speak. So I wish you the best. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you very much. In Farsi, I would say bebinim che mishe va hamchanin Iran azadi. That means we shall see and free Iran.